Interesting times for the headlines. Hong Kong lawmakers grilled the city's security secretary over allegations of police brutality during protests over an extradition bill that eventually was suspended. U.S. President Donald Trump officially kicked off his re-election campaign in Florida in a Florida rally. A magnitude 6.7 quake caused minor injuries to 21 people, and coastal homes were evacuated briefly until the risk of a tsunami passed. And Dutch National Police Chief Wilbert Paulison has named 3 Russians and 1 Ukrainian as murder suspects in the MH17 downing. I'm Alma Angeles, wherever you're watching from around the world. Thank you very much for joining us. And now to the news. Hong Kong lawmakers grilled the city's security secretary over allegations of police brutality during protests over an extradition bill that eventually was suspended. The agenda for the meeting showed that pro-democracy members were planning to file a motion of no confidence for Chief Executive Carrie Lam's handling of the legislation, which sparked the demonstrations over recent weeks, including a massive march on Sunday. The opposition lawmakers were wearing black and white with white and white ribbons pinned to their lapels or lapels. They put white chrysanthemums, another symbol of mourning, on their desks and observed a few moments of silence in mourning for a protester who died in a fall last weekend. Security Secretary John Lee rejected suggestions that he should resign to take responsibility for police use of aggressive tactics, including beatings with steel batons and heavy use of tear gas.
103萬人上街，之後仲要係接近200萬人上街，仲要係搞到有市民係頭部受傷，特首就射落去警方，警方阿一哥就射落去前線嘅 commander 指揮官。你作為中間嘅橋梁，你作為問責官員，我想問下李家超局長。 有冇諗住向全香港市民道歉，仲要表達誠意，鞠躬都唔夠，你係應該問責落台。
我喺面前，我相信都要處理嘅工作，希望大家明白我哋都係希望大家可以做得更好，喺呢方面多聽啲意見，未來去推動任何嘅政策，我哋必然會更加去廣泛聽意見之後呢。 先至作推行嘅，多謝主席。
Hong Kong Chief Carrie Lam formally apologized on Tuesday and said she was responsible for the extradition bill mess. U.S. President Donald Trump officially kicked off his re-election campaign with a failed rally in Florida. Take a look. Addressing a crowd of thousands of the Amway Center in Orlando, Florida, Trump took a moment to poll the audience as to what was a better campaign slogan, his signature 2016 Make America Great Again, or a newer version, Keep America Great. After a more than 70-minute speech that took jabs at the press and attacked the political establishment he ran against in 2016, Trump declared it is his White House that he has the only positive vision for the country's future.
I would have said that 3 years ago, it wouldn't be a contest, right? Are you ready? First we do Make America Great Again, then we do Keep America Great. Let me hear it. Ready? Make America Great Again. Not bad. Not bad. If I would have said that 3 years ago, it wouldn't be a contest, right? You ready? Keep America great. Wow. I'm sorry, MAGA country, but that wasn't too close. I thought you had it won, and then I heard this cheer. My eardrums will never be the same. Keep America great. We believe our country should be a sanctuary for law-abiding citizens, not for criminal aliens. We're going to keep it better than ever before. And that is why tonight I stand before you to officially launch my campaign for a second term as President of the United States. Thank you.
And he also appeared eager for a rerun of 2016, spending considerably more time focused on former Democratic rival Hillary Clinton, whose name elicited lock-her-up chants than on his current 2020 challengers, even though she's not on the ballot.
We went through the greatest witch hunt in political history. The only collusion was committed by the Democrats, the fake news media and their operatives, and the people who funded the phony dossier, crooked Hillary Clinton and the DNC. It was all an illegal attempt to overturn the results of the election, spy on our campaign, which is what they did, and subvert our democracy. Remember the insurance policy, just in case Hillary Clinton lost. Remember the insurance policy.
Now, Trump also ran through a list of promises for his second term.
We will protect our Second Amendment. We will push onward with new medical frontiers. We will come up with the cures to many, many problems, to many, many diseases, including cancer and others. And we're getting closer all the time. We will eradicate AIDS in America once and for all, and we're very close. We will lay the foundation for landing American astronauts on the surface of Mars. And above all, we will never stop fighting for the values that hold us together as one America. We are one movement, one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. And together, we will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you, Orlando. Thank you, Florida.
Florida is considered a near must-win state for Trump to hold onto the White House, and both parties have been mobilizing for a fierce and expensive battle in a state that Trump has visited as president more often than any other.
We will come up with the cures to many.
Meanwhile, supporters called U.S. President Trump's speech electric and fantastic after he kicked off his 2020 re-election campaign in Orlando, Florida. Supporters Mike Prive from Tampa, Florida, admitted that he was apprehensive about voting for Trump in 2016, but called the president a straight shooter who's getting the job done. Take a listen.
He's a straight shooter, and he's getting the job done. And the first time I voted for him, I was apprehensive. He was the last guy I wanted to vote for.
Because he supports the American people. He supports Americans, period, end of sentence. He's for us.
I thought it was a great beginning to a great re-election campaign. I
think he's done an amazing job so far, and the sky's the limit. He's come through on almost every campaign promise he's made so far, and he continues striving to make America great again and keep America great. When he talked about all the people that are benefiting, such as our veterans have given so much for this country and get so little in return, and being able to provide them with at the very least good medical care, to be able to get treatment. They're suffering from so many illnesses, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. So many end up committing suicide because they don't get the proper care in the proper time. And protecting the jobs of our American communities and making sure that they're not being taken by illegal immigrants, by the gangs that are out there, a lot of bad gangs coming in from other countries. Let's face it, he has more money than he knows what to do with. He doesn't need this job, he doesn't need the money. I think he's doing it for the right reasons to try and help the country.
And as President Trump announced his re-election campaign, demonstrators are taking the streets in Orlando near the rally venue to protest the president's politics. The protesters are met by supporters of the president in the streets. Take a look.
Isn't even near here. So those Trump supporters came to our rally just to rile everyone up and just to spill like hatred. I saw a protester on the Trump side wear blackface, which is just disgusting and it should not be tolerated, especially not here in Orlando.
I'm here to protest our President Trump and his policies that are endangering the lives of everyone in America.
To other news now, an independent UN human rights expert investigating the killing of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi recommended an investigation into the possible role of Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, citing credible evidence. The 101-page report released by Agnes Calamard into the October killing of Khashoggi at the Saudi consulate in Istanbul calls on UN bodies or Secretary General Antonio Guterres to demand a follow-up criminal investigation. Calamard noted the extreme sensitivity of considering the criminal responsibility of the Crown Prince, as well as Saud al-Qahtani, a senior advisor to the Saudi royal court, who has not been charged. No conclusion is made as to the guilt, she wrote, of the two men. The only conclusion made is that there is credible evidence meriting further investigation by a proper authority as to whether the threshold of criminal responsibility has been met, she said. She also wrote that there was no reason why sanctions should not be applied against the Crown Prince and his personal assets, noting that sanctions regimes have been put in place in the past even before guilt was determined. Calamard wrote that she obtained access to a recording of the killing on October 2, 2018. She said she had received information about a financial package offered to Khashoggi's children, but it's questionable whether such package amounts to compensation under international human rights law. Calamard noted limitations on her inquiry, which began in January. She received no response to her request to travel to Saudi Arabia. She also wrote that she had received only a total of 45 minutes of tapes recorded within the consulate around the time of the killing, while Turkish intelligence had referenced some 7 hours of recordings. The report offers gruesome, nearly minute-by-minute accounting of the events surrounding the killing and cites sounds of a buzzing saw that could have been used to dismember Khashoggi's body. She also identified by name 15 suspects in the case. The U.S. State Department has publicly designated 16 people for their roles in the killing of Khashoggi, and many U.S. lawmakers have criticized President Trump for not condemning Saudi Arabia for the journalist's killing.
The latest true fireback.
Dutch National Police Chief Wilbert Paulsen has named 3 Russians and 1 Ukrainian as murder suspects in the MH17 downing. Paulsen identified the men.
Vandaag sturen wij internationale aanhoudingsbevelen uit voor de 4 verdachten die wij gaan vervolgen. Ook plaatsen we hen op de nationale en internationale opsporingslijsten. En om die reden maken we de volledige namen bekend en tonen we hun foto's. De 4 personen waarom het gaat. Als eerste Igor Girkin, Sergei Dubinsky, Oleg Pulatov en Leonid Garchenko.
Now, he said all 4 men had been in eastern Ukraine on July 17, 2014, the day of the plane crash, adding they played a crucial part in the armed conflict and they had important positions. Paulison was speaking at a news conference of an international team of investigators building a criminal case against those responsible in the downing of Malaysia Airlines Flight 17. All 298 passengers and crew on board the flight from Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur were killed on July 17, 2014 when a missile shattered the Boeing 777 in mid-air, sending debris and bodies raining down onto farms and fields of sunflowers. Russia has always denied responsibility for shooting down the flight and claimed last year that the BUK missile came from Ukrainian army arsenals. Russia has also indicated it will not provide legal assistance or hand over the suspects. However, if the suspects were convicted in absentia, they would face Interpol arrest warrants if they ever left Russian territory. And the news continues here on Eagle News International. We'll be right back.
Is there more?
A record 71 million people have been displaced worldwide from war, persecution, and other violence, the UN Refugee Agency said on Wednesday, an increase of more than 2 million from last year, and an overall total that would amount to the world's 20th most populous country. The annual Global Trends report released by the UN High Commissioner for Refugees counts the number of the world's refugees, asylum seekers, and internally displaced people at the end of 2018, in some cases following decades of living away from home. The figures coming on the eve of the World Refugee Day are bound to add fuel to a debate at the intersection of international law, human rights, and domestic politics, especially the movement in some countries, including the U.S., against immigrants and refugees. The UNHCR report noted that by far, the most refugees are taken in the developing world and not wealthy countries. The figures mark the 7th consecutive year in which the numbers of forcibly displaced rose. Launching the report, the High Commissioner, Filippo Grandi, had a message for U.S. President Donald Trump and other world leaders, calling it damaging to depict migrants and refugees as threats to jobs and security in host countries.
Last year, we reported 68.5 approximately million people, refugees, displaced people, meaning refugees in their own country, asylum seekers, and this year the figure has increased by almost close to 71 million people. Global trends once again, unfortunately, go in what I would say is the wrong direction. For people that arrive in the United States, we're advocating that those who seek asylum be given a fair hearing there in the United States, that children are not separated from their families, and that if there is any help that we can provide to the U.S. administration in dealing with this matter, we're ready to do it. We have a dialogue with the Department of Homeland Security in this respect. We have urged the governments of U.S., Mexico, the 3 concerned countries, and maybe other countries, because some go south towards Costa Rica, for example, or Belize. We think that really there should be a regional discussion on how to work together to address these matters. This movement of people is due to many reasons. It is what we would call a mixed flow. There's no doubt about that. Some people are looking for better economic opportunities, and others, however, and I was there, as you know, you remember, others are there, are fleeing because of the horrifying violence that is perpetrated against them.
In other news, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says the U.S. military presence in the Persian Gulf is not for war, but to deter Iranian aggression. On a visit to the U.S. Central Command in Florida, Pompeo says he is confident that the military is up to the challenge and is ready to respond to any attack on American interests in the region. He also said President Trump does not want war and is only seeking to reestablish a deterrent to Iranian threats.
Almost certainly, President Trump had sent President Abe to take a message of his to the leadership in Iran. You have to remember, these are messages for the leadership. I think the Iranian people are being woefully misserved by that leadership. But yes, we're engaged in, we have been engaged in many messages, even this moment right here, communicating to Iran that we are there to deter aggression. President Trump does not want war, and we will continue to communicate that message while doing the things that are necessary to protect American interests in the region. We'll continue to provide additional information.
Pompeo traveled to the base after the Pentagon announced the deployment of an additional 1,000 troops to the region. Pompeo says he made the trip to visit commanders in Florida to ensure that America's diplomatic and military efforts are coordinated. He also said the Trump administration will do the right thing as it relates to Iran, which is to make clear that the U.S. is serious.
We'll continue to work with partners all around the world.
Facebook already rules daily communication for more than 2 billion people around the world, and now it wants to own currency too. The social network unveiled an ambitious plan to create a new digital currency, similar to Bitcoin for global use, one that could drive more e-commerce on its services and boost ads on its platforms. But the effort, which Facebook is launching with partners including PayPal, Uber, Spotify, Visa, and MasterCard, could also complicate matters for the beleaguered social network. Facebook is currently under federal investigation over its privacy practices and, along with other technology giants, also faces a new antitrust probe in Congress.
Facebook's motivation is not making money off the currency. Facebook's motivation is, let's create a small microeconomy for the 2 billion people that are currently not covered and that have a need to make financial transactions. This motivation potentially increases stability to the currency because you don't have that speculation aspect. However, it raises a whole host of questions as to whether or not we would trust these superpowers, Facebook first and foremost, to have this sensitive financial data for this population.
Creating its own globe-spanning currency, one that could conceivably threaten banks, national currencies, and the privacy of users, isn't likely to dampen regulators' interest in Facebook.
In many ways, it's an important phase in terms of where these things are going, because there is that unbanked population, and that unbanked population should be banked, and there are a lot of problems that this will alleviate for this unbanked population, such as small transactions, foreign transaction fees.
Outside, you see privacy.
Now, David Marcus, the head of Facebook's cryptocurrency operation, said in a tweet on Tuesday that Facebook is creating a separate subsidiary, Calibra, to handle the new currency. The digital currency, called Libra, is scheduled to launch in the next 6 to 12 months. Facebook is taking the lead on building Libra and its underlying technology. Its more than 24 partners will help fund, build, and govern the system. Facebook hopes to raise as much as $1 billion from existing and future partners to support the effort. Company officials emphasize that Libra is a way of sending money across borders without incurring significant fees, such as those charged by Western Union and other international money transfer services, which starts at a few dollars but can be much higher when paying with a credit card. Shares in Western Union fell 2% in morning trade. Libra could also open up online commerce to huge numbers of people around the world who currently don't have bank accounts or credit cards.
The main issue is dominance over this population, or access to this population, right? Facebook makes a lot of money over marketing. If you have access to 2 billion more people, that's a lot of marketing. And if you lose access to them, you're going to start losing this population, and it'll spread throughout the network. And I think what you really want is reliability and trust. And the bottom line question is Facebook the company that should lead the charge for a trustworthy financial system for the unbanked population, which, of course, they hope will grow beyond that.
The morning after a powerful earthquake hit northwestern Japan late Tuesday, the vestige of the strong tremor still remains in some landslides or scattered rocks on the road. Take a look. The magnitude 6.8 quake caused minor injuries to 21 people, and coastal homes were evacuated briefly until the risk of a tsunami passed. Japanese broadcaster TBS released footage which showed the landslide on the side of the road and rocks, almost equating to the size of cars scattered on the road. Takezo Togashi, a resident in Murakami, Niigata Prefecture, explained how strong the tremor felt in his house, where the furniture went upside down.
その時はもう俺は寝てたからもうグラッと来てドーンと土上げられてドンドンドンドンドンドンってもう家が潰れるかと思った。
Now, business began to return to normal on Wednesday, with trains gradually resuming their usual services and electricity being restored to thousands of homes that temporarily lost power. There were no reports of serious damage from the quake. South Korea said it plans to send 50,000 tons of rice to North Korea through the World Food Program in its second aid package announced over the past month, as it seeks to help with North Korean food shortages and improve bilateral relations. South Korean Unification Minister Kim Yeon-chul, Seoul's point man for North Korea, said his government will work with the UN agency to ensure that the food reaches North Korean people without delay.
정부는 근본 WFP를 통해 지원되는 식량이 북한 주민에게 최대한 신속히 전달될 수 있기를 기대합니다. 북한에 대한 추가적인 식량 지원의 시기와 규모는 근본 지원 결과 등을 보아가며 추후 결정할 것입니다.
Last month said that about 10 million people were facing severe food shortages after one of North Korea's worst harvests in a decade. Kim said South Korea will decide whether to provide more food aid after reviewing the outcome of the current assistance. Kim said South Korea and the WFP are reviewing how to send the rice to North Korea, but that a delivery by sea would be more effective than air transport. Seoul's announcement came a day before Chinese President Xi Jinping was to travel to Pyongyang for a summit with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, a visit experts say will likely be accompanied by Chinese assistance in food, fertilizer, and medicine. For the U.S. Agency for International Development, or USAID administrator, he said that the authorities there said that the rapid spread of the Ebola virus in a region of Africa was due to multiple failures. Mark Green said the virus had struck a part of the continent already besieged over the years by failures in development. He was speaking after visiting the Democratic Republic of Congo, Rwanda, Mozambique, and Kenya. And Green called the shortcomings a combustible, deadly mix. Take a look.
As we all know, a deadly virus has struck a region of Africa that was already besieged over the years by a number of failures. Failures in development, a failure of democracy, and a failure of governance. And this is a combustible, deadly mix, and I think going forward a number of things will need to happen. With over 2,168 cases and over 1,400 deaths, we need to turn distrust in the community, which has been well reported by many of you, into an asset. We need to turn it into a community-based response. We need a response that engages all parts of the community, not only to tackle the virus, but to rebuild the institutions that will be necessary so as not to leave the area vulnerable again for the next shock which could come its way.
Now, Green said that the World Health Organization is yet to declare the Ebola outbreak in the DRC as a public health emergency and termed the crisis as a development emergency. Eastern Congo has battled the Ebola outbreak since last August, with more than 1,400 deaths, and last week the disease spread to Uganda, where 2 people died of the hemorrhagic fever. The current outbreak in Eastern Congo has become the second worst after the West Africa outbreak of 2013 to 2016, in which more than 11,000 people died. Despite new anti-Ebola vaccines, the current outbreak has been difficult to control. Eastern Congo is one of the world's most turbulent regions, and rebels have attacked medical centers, while community resistance has also hurt Ebola response work. All right, on a lighter note, let's visit the Jazz Museum in New Orleans with our EBC correspondent, Don Orosco.
Arriving here at the Louis Armstrong International Airport here in New Orleans, Louisiana. And join me today as I embark on a tour around New Orleans 14 years after Typhoon Katrina. Check it out. Join me. The vibrant city of New Orleans in the state of Louisiana is celebrating its 300 years. Life has completely changed in the city, who 14 years ago was devastated by Typhoon Katrina. Locals will tell you that for 2 months, practically the whole city was flooded by at least 5 feet of water. 14 years after, the city has turned around and life went on with music and festivals after festivals, and festivals after festivals with music. After all, the city used to be home for the NBA's New Orleans Jazz, now Utah, but is now home for the Pelicans, the state's national bird. Outside the city are the different swamps all the way to Baton Rouge, and the depiction of different forms which are all rich in history of slavery. I had the opportunity to visit 2 farms and was able to see the preserved bank houses of the slaves, their tools, and some of their manifesto. It is quite an experience to see all of this and witness this happening right before your very eyes. In the famous French Quarter and Bourbon streets, people just randomly set up their instruments and start to render tourists, including me, beautiful soul music.
You will be surprised to know that in New Orleans, you will see the beauty of the Mississippi River and the biggest sugar plantation dubbed to be the second next only to Nigeria. It is also host of thousands of alligators roaming around the swamps of Louisiana. It was to me a completely different experience.
Reporting at the Louis Armstrong Airport, this is Don Orosco for Eagle News.
Eagle News International will be right back. Stay tuned.
For Business News, this is Cesar Vallejos. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas may decide to keep key rates unchanged in the upcoming monetary policy meeting as officials await further confirmation that inflation is now on a downward path, according to an economist. In a recent assessment, ING Bank Manila economist Nicolas Mapa said the BSP is expected to veer away from more rate cuts in its monetary policy meeting on Thursday. This after slashing the overnight repurchase rate by 25 basis points in the previous meeting, followed by staggered cuts in the bank's reserve requirement ratios weeks after. We believe that the BSP will pause at the June meeting to await further confirmation that inflation will return to its downward path, which would further cement their short-term and medium-term inflation targets, Mapa said. The Philippine Statistics Authority recently reported that inflation in May averaged 3.2%, an uptick from the 3% recorded in April. Prior to this, inflation decelerated for 6 straight months. If inflation resumes its deceleration, we expect the BSP to ease monetary policy further by way of RRP cuts and reductions in RRR should inflation remain stable and liquidity conditions tight. The BSP will remain data dependent and all moves will be engineered by evidence, Mapa said. Growth for the first quarter of the year, as announced by the PSA, slowed to 5.6%, the lowest growth for the country in 4 years. Government officials blame this on the budget delay. The BSP is expected to hold the fourth monetary policy meeting for the year on Thursday, June 20. Legacy carrier Philippine Airlines has appointed Vivian Tan, a daughter of Lucia Tan, as its officer in charge following the retirement of longtime President Jaime Bautista. The younger Tan, who will continue to sit as the company's EVP, Treasurer, and Chief Administrative Officer, assured the airline's customers, business partners, and employees that PAL will continue to be business as usual despite the changing of the guard. On behalf of my father, I am asking all of you to continue working towards our goals. I am personally committed to working with all of you hand in hand and build on what we have already accomplished, she was quoted as saying in a statement on Tuesday. Tan has on her belt 25 years of professional experience in technology, education, social advocacy, and entrepreneurship in industries such as education, airline, and property development. Bautista, who was reappointed as PAL's president after the LT Group regained full control of the airline in 2014, retired after years of leading the company to its 4-star rating glory. In a Viber message, she told the Business Mirror, "My retirement will be formally accepted on Monday, June 24, during the Board of Directors meeting. I will formally retire on June 30, but if the turnover of the office is done earlier, I can just take a terminal leave." Bautista is currently in Paris to receive the Skytrax Award for Most Improved Airline on behalf of PAL. Facebook is unveiling plans to create a new digital currency similar to Bitcoin for global use, one that could drive more e-commerce on its services and boost ads on its platforms. The digital currency called Libra is scheduled to launch sometime in the next 6 to 12 months. Facebook is taking the lead on building Libra and its underlying technology. It's more than 24 partners, including PayPal, Uber, Spotify, Visa, and MasterCard, will help fund, build, and govern the system. Facebook hopes to raise as much as $1 billion from existing and future partners to support the effort.
What they want you to do is use your real money to buy these digital coins and then use those coins on the internet. So maybe that's buying things from the Facebook platform, maybe that's paying for your Uber, maybe that's buying your Spotify subscription using digital coins. The interesting thing about this cryptocurrency is that they're backing it with actual currency. So every time you buy a Libra, the same amount of money in actual recognizable currency, dollars, pounds, euros, etc., will go into a reserve somewhere. That way, they're hoping to avoid some of these wild fluctuations that have plagued cryptocurrency. Facebook is saying they're doing this to increase equality. So they want to make it so that anybody around the world can participate in e-commerce. And that's a big issue right now because about 30% of the world does not have a bank account, doesn't have access to a bank account. So what they can do now is they could go, conceivably, they could go to a physical store, use cash, buy Libra, and then they'd be able to purchase things online.
Facebook hopes to raise as much as $1 billion from existing and future partners to support the effort.
The idea is, since this is a cryptocurrency, money, it kind of cuts out the middleman. Money gets sent from person to person with very few stops in between, if any. And the idea of that is that it will reduce the number of fees. So even if you need to send money across borders, it should make it cheaper. Now, this being said, we don't really know yet because it won't launch for at least another year or so.
Creating its own globe-spanning currency, one that could conceivably threaten banks, national currencies, and the privacy of users, isn't likely to dampen regulators' interest in the social media giant. Facebook is currently under federal investigation over its privacy practices and, along with other technology giants, also faces a new antitrust probe in Congress.
they're going to create a wallet, sort of like how you would use a PayPal wallet now, so that within Calibra you can buy Libra or send it to other people or exchange it. And interestingly, Facebook is saying Calibra is not going to share your financial data with Facebook, which is kind of an important issue right now that Facebook is facing all of these privacy problems.
As Facebook leaps into the world of cryptocurrency with its own digital money, crypto investor Lou Kerner says the move has the potential to open the door for crypto money to a wider public, an exciting development for the industry.
What the crypto industry is so excited about is that Facebook could be an on-ramp for billions of people to cryptocurrency. Once they start using cryptocurrency, once they start getting comfortable with cryptocurrency, then they can consider, are much more open to using other cryptocurrencies that could do things that Facebook coin that Libra doesn't do. From a Facebook user's perspective, this is going to work very much like a dollar. Like a digital dollar for them. So it's not going to be very volatile. Facebook didn't go into details, but what Facebook is really good at is making things really simple to use. And that's what's super exciting for the crypto industry, is somebody come along who understands user experience and has billions of users that they can roll this out to. With Libra being this digital coin, what's super exciting is what money, what digital cash can evolve into. It can be, the possibilities are really infinite, and we're at the very, very early days today. So my guess is that Facebook is going to compete by adding additional features that we can't even begin to comprehend today. Crypto today is very much like the internet was in the early 90s before.
California utility PG&E has agreed to pay $1 billion to 14 local government bodies for damage from wildfires blamed on the firm's equipment. The settlement announced Tuesday covers claims stemming from the 2018 Camp Fire in Northern California, which killed 85 people and destroyed some 18,000 buildings, and the earlier 2017 North Bay and 2015 Butte fires. In May, California's Fire Protection Agency determined that PG&E's electrical power line sparked Camp Fire, the deadliest in the state's history. This money will help local government and taxpayers rebuild their communities after several years of devastating wildfires, said Scott Summey of law firm Barron Budd, which represented the public bodies in the settlement mediation in San Francisco. The $1 billion settlement is part of the reorganization plan for PGE, which filed for bankruptcy protection in January, facing billions of dollars in potential liabilities over its role in the fires. The town of Paradise, which was virtually obliterated by Camp Fire, will receive $270 million. California Assemblyman James Gallagher said the utility must move swiftly to resolve claims with victims. He said, quote, "Camp Fire survivors have already been through hell. The utility has an obligation to not prolong their suffering." In many Chinese cities, government restrictions have cooled formerly feverish property markets, but in the southwestern city of Chongqing, construction is booming and sales soaring as investors rush in. The most audacious evidence is one of the newest additions to the city's skyline, a mega project of 8 futuristic high-rises, 6 of which are connected by a vertiginous sky bridge. The behemoth Raffles City, Chongqing, looms over a bend in the Jialing River. The 73-story towers, part of a project built at a cost of $4.8 billion, are unmistakable proof that a slowdown which has seen sales slump nationwide has not taken hold in Chongqing. In recent years, Beijing has banned capital flight, curbing investments in foreign projects like a luxury development built by Chinese developers in Malaysia. And authorities have tightened regulations in the country's main cities, requiring buyers to show proof of residence before purchasing homes. Those rules have benefited places like Chongqing, a key logistics staging point in China's Belt and Road Initiative. The city is China's largest market in terms of area of residential apartments sold. Some 31.23 million square meters of new homes were sold in 2018, with sales of new homes jumping 64.3% in March compared to a 0.6% drop nationally.
So this is what we believe this will put Chongqing back on the map, on the world map, as a world-class city with a world-class project.
Prices for a 98 square meter one-bedroom unit at Truffle City starts at 4 million yuan, and developers say 3/4 of the project's 1,400 residential units have been sold. But for many locals whose average monthly salary in 2016 was 6,100 yuan or $880, properties like Raffles City represent another out-of-reach part of the cityscape. Local Wang Mingjun noted that traditional porters working the docks in the area had been cleared out during the property's development.
灯光啊这些，但有些人觉得就是说，它这修在这里，感觉有点突兀的感觉。就因为朝天门本来就自古以来就是比较历史悠久的一个，相当于是水码头嘛，它相当于有点破坏原来码头的这种码头文化的感觉，就有点。
Let's head on over to Tokyo, where the Japanese toys industry's annual trade show took place and where thousands of new toys were unveiled. Dennis Liu reports.
It's that time of the year again where parents and children would head over to the largest convention center in Japan, the Tokyo Big Sight, to take part and experience the buzz and excitement of the nation's largest toy fair, the Tokyo Toy Show 2019. Come and join me as I check out what they have in store for us this year. Every year, many toy companies and enthusiasts gather here at Tokyo Big Sight in Ariake area for the International Tokyo Toy Show 2019. There are about 189 participating companies this year, with approximately 35,000 toys showcased at the fair. The toy exhibition is held on the same venue annually, with a different highlight each year, giving visitors something new to look forward to. Particularly this year, which marked as the 58th annual toy fair. It aims to make the world smile with toys. Right here at Tokyo Big Sight for the International Tokyo Toy Show 2019. This is Dennis Liu for Eagle News International, and I am 1V25.
That's it for business news. This is Cesar Vallejos. I'm 1V25. Eagle News International will be back. Stay with us.
Health is our
alas 4 hanggang alas 5 ng hapon.
All right, and that's all we have a time for you tonight. That's it for tonight's broadcast. I'm Alma Angeles, always one with 25. Good night.